Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Welcome back for another edition of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. Join your host, Bill Alvstad, and co-host, sports writer and football analyst Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football.
Hey, Seahawks fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers, here to talk about prospects once again. We've been in the free agency mode the last few shows, getting back to the last show in the series, looking at all the prospects in position groups leading up to the NFL draft. This week, we're finally ending it with the cornerback group. Welcome in.
Yeah, so last of a long string of shows, and it's an interesting one. As much as we were talking about how the wide receiver class isn't as good as we've seen the last few years, which have been great classes. So that's not saying that this is a bad class for wide receiver. Cornerback's kind of in the opposite. There's a lot of really good ones in this group. A lot of ones that I like a lot, I think would be great additions to a lot of different teams. So
to me, there's a pretty good bunch of outside corners bunched up at the top, and then in the middle, it seems like it transitions into the slot, and then towards the middle rounds, late rounds, it kind of creeps back towards the bigger athletic guys on the outside. That's interesting to me, just based on the way they test, where they're projected to go in the NFL. So it'll be an interesting conversation. For me, the guy that rose up, maybe didn't initially, like January 1st, wasn't initially thought of as the best corner in this draft. And all of a sudden he's up there in almost every conversation. That's Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. The 6'1", 197 pound, 4.38 40, 32 inch arms, 41.5 inch vertical, 133 on the broad jump. Super athletic, good sticky coverage skills, probably projected to go near the top 10, if not, top 15.
Oh, I'm thinking he's probably going top 5.
What?
Oh, just messing with you. He'll go like 8 or 9. He'll be the first corner off the board, and he's an elite prospect. He absolutely is. He's got the length, he's got the size, he's got the speed, and he's got those really loose hips that you need to change directions quickly. There's nothing not to like. He's also does a good job of tracking the ball and has good ball skills to knock balls away and not get beat even when he's in good position. You know what I mean? Like there are some guys that they're always in position, but they seem to get beat anyway. Gonzalez doesn't seem to do that. He makes plays on the ball, good tackler. He's an elite prospect. Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit of draft strategy here just for a minute, since we're all Seahawk fans in this room. There's no chance, I don't believe, that Seattle would stick at 5 and select him. There are a couple scenarios there where I think he could be in play, because if Will Anderson's off the board, let's just say they've taken Carter off their board. He's not even eligible to be drafted by the Seahawks. Let's say that there was a run on quarterbacks and they're not really enamored with Wilson as a scheme fit for them.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're left with a pool of players. You're either reaching for it at 5 or you're going to try to trade back. Let's just say you trade back to 9 for a team that wants to jump up or whatever. Could you see the Seahawks select Christian Gonzalez as a corner in the first round, pick 9 overall, as the best player available on their board?
In that situation, he would be the best player available on their board. And I think you take him and you stick him off of it opposite Woolen and you don't think twice about it. But I actually don't think the Seahawks would do that. I think they would do just about anything to make sure that that situation doesn't happen, because they don't like taking corners in the first 2 rounds. They've taken 1 corner in round 3 in the entire time that Pete Carroll and company have been here. Everything else has been lower, and then they've developed guys. and I don't see them taking a corner top 10. I just don't. And so I would say that they would find a trade partner, even if they didn't get market value to move down, they would still move down.
Interesting. I mean, I think that, if Richardson's available or Will Levis is available still at 5, and they're not wanting either one of those guys, there's going to be a market for that 5th pick. And I think Seattle will get a pretty decent load out of it if that's what they choose to do. Okay, so what's more likely? Seahawks select Christian Gonzalez after trading down, or Bijan Robinson, the running back. Two unlikely picks that are going to get completely panned by Seahawk fans. Which one turns out to be the better pro, and what's more likely to be selected?
Who's going to be the better pro? Probably Gonzalez. Bijan Robinson is a legit prospect. I'm not trying to say that he's not, but he's a running back, and there's just no value in that right there, especially that high. It's just a waste of draft capital. You might as well just take your draft picks and throw a couple of them in the trash, because you don't get value out of running backs. You can, I mean, in round 2, maybe round 3, absolutely, but round 1, you can get comparable guys lower, and without the price, and so you have to do it. Gonzalez is going to have a longer career. Robinson will be great for 3 or 4 years. He'll be, the next Ezekiel Gonzalez. In fact, if I had to bet, I'd say he's going to Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Ezekiel Elliott. Did I say Gonzalez? Yeah, that's a great. Well done. No, he'll be the next Ezekiel Elliott. He'll come in to the league, be great for a few years, and then fade very quickly. And that's what happens to running backs in the NFL. In fact, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Dallas is the team that takes him in round 1.
Interesting.
So
okay, let's get back to this corner conversation. Are there any other corners that you would value in the top 20 that you want to discuss?
Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State is a guy that if they do something else at the top and they're sitting there at 20 and he's still there, he would be hard to pass up.
Yeah, you've just talked about the second corner that I really love in the first round for Seattle. I mean, there's a couple other guys that are going to be peripheral and considered, and we can talk about Devin Witherspoon in a second here. But Joey Porter Jr. is kind of the perfect match on the other side with Woolen to me. 6'2", 193 pounds. He's long, lean, 34-inch arms, ran a 4.46 40, 35-inch vertical, 1.50 split. So he's plenty fast and has the agility, the fluidity, and the speed to cover and knock down plays. He's a good ball hawk kind of a guy. Knows how to get his head around all that kind of stuff. Everything you want to see out of a corner in the first round for sure. It's one of those things to me, and I've thought about this for a number of years since we had Richard Sherman and that crew in the Legion of Boom. It's just so valuable when your defense has it. When you don't, you really notice it. And when you select corners in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, you're taking a shot on somebody turning out. Now Tariq turned out great. Turned out great, but often that does not happen. That doesn't translate. And guys at the top have a better opportunity, a better chance to have that fit. And it would just instantly make this defense formidable on the back end. And I would consider it, especially with the extra first round pick.
Yeah.
You have that opportunity to kind of select a guy you really need for positional value and so forth. Not saying that corners aren't positionally valued in the first round. They are. But it just makes a lot of sense to me that Seattle would kind of lock down their defense on the backside if they had that opportunity.
I think it would make a lot of sense too, but I also think that Pete Carroll prides himself as a secondary development guy and thinks that he can develop guys like Tariq Woolen into Pro Bowl players, which he's proven multiple times that he can do. And I just don't see them taking a player at the top, mainly because they haven't in 11 years. And even when their need was really big and they absolutely had to get a corner, they waited until round 3 to get Shaquille Griffin.
Right.
and that's the highest they've ever taken a corner. So I would
And just
love
looking at their
Joe Porter
roster,
Jr.
looking at their roster, there's not a huge immediate need, but you know what? Maybe there is a bigger need. The long term signing on the other side opposite Woolen is not there. They went out and did the restricted free agent contract, and I I don't know how enamored they are over on the other side. And I know they have Trey Brown's coming back, and he needs to be worked into some sort of a spot possibly. Don't know for sure how they feel about Kobe Bryant. He had an okay season there in the slot, maybe better than I think as far as the team values. But I don't know if he sticks inside there, if they try to move him back out, especially with the hedge they got in free agency.
Yeah, I think they like Mike Jackson. I think they love the size at 6'4" that he brings, and the physicality that he brings to the position. I think they love the fact
Yeah.
that he'll come up and make plays against the run. It's a zone
They do like that.
scheme primarily, and I think they're not going to pay him next year when he's an unrestricted free agent. But if the market's not there, and given the fact that a lot of corners outside of Richard Sherman haven't done well when they've left Seattle, they're like really good in Seattle's system and then kind of fade elsewhere. There might not be the market for him. And so, it's a possibility that he um, is able to be retained at a reasonable price. And so I think that I think they like the way they're at. They're 4 deep at cornerback going into this draft, going into this year. They've got their starters. They've got 2 guys that can both play the slot or on the outside in Bryant and Brown. Brown's proven that he can play at this level, at a high level, although he only managed it for a little bit before he got hurt, that rookie year. So we'll see with that. I could see them waiting and picking up one later in the draft or going the undrafted route, looking for guys that are super athletic, trying to find. I mean, you're not going to find a Tariq Woolen in any draft because he's so rare. Like, he's such a physical specimen. But trying to find an uber athletic guy like that late in the draft and just take a flyer on a guy.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about Devin Witherspoon. He's going to be a first round guy. Probably not going to go to the Seahawks. It's a 6 foot, 181 pounds, 4.39. Well thought of guy that plays with tenacity. One of the best defensive backs in the country last year. He's going to go up there as well. A little bit shorter as far as the length than Seattle likes, but Seattle's been moving away from that as well the last few years.
They like he's a guy that does man coverage stuff extremely well, and that doesn't really fit in Seattle's scheme. In that Seattle doesn't do a lot of man. And it's not to say that Witherspoon couldn't play any of the zone coverages that Seattle likes. It's just a matter of I think another team will value him higher because they'll see that skill set and be like, yeah, we need to go get that.
One of the players I really like in the draft that really came on at the combine and just showed how athletic he was Deontay Banks, the corner out of Maryland, 6 foot, almost 200 pounds, 4.35 40, had a 1.49 split, which is elite.
It does.
Almost 31 and a half inch arms, but he has a 42 inch vertical and a 136 broad, which makes up for that length with athleticism. And this is a guy that's fringy, first round, second round. If Seattle's there at 37 and they really like somebody like this, it would be a pretty decent pick and value for them. But again, you've just mentioned the roster. This guy's going to be kind of scouted against their own team, and who knows what they decide to do. To me, I think you could upgrade a little bit there still. But if you wanted to be premier and have 2 Pro Bowl level kind of guys back there, but it seems like a luxury pick to me at that point.
Well, yeah, and I think the front 7 is more pressing. I mean, you still need a long-term answer at nose tackle. You could use another big defensive end on the opposite side of Jones that they just signed. I know that they brought in Reed to play that position for this year, but still they could use another guy and someone that they could rotate. And you know what they look like at linebacker, where it's just a mess. So I just see the front seven being where the direction
on both sides
in
of the
which
ball, even. Yeah.
well, yeah, but I just see the front seven be where they go defensively, knowing that the cornerbacks kind of taken care of. So another guy in that same exact realm that we were talking about in there. All these guys would be great in the Seattle uniform. I'm not trying to say they wouldn't.
Right.
They belong in the NFL. They're going to be good pros. Seattle would love to have any of them. They just become luxury picks, right? And I don't know if you can hear me or not, but everything just locked up on
Yeah,
me.
now I can.
Oh, there you go. I'm back. Sorry, everything kind of locked up on me on my computer. So, another guy that people will talk about and think about, and he's got all these great measurables is Kylie Ringo out of Georgia. Super athletic guy, super fast, but watching his tape, remember I was saying earlier with Gonzalez that there are some guys that just they're in position, but they don't make a play on the ball.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Kylie Ringo is that guy. He's often right there, but then when he puts his hand up to knock the ball away, it goes right beside his hand and into the receiver's hands. And it just seems to happen way too much with him. But because of his ability to be there and his just physical traits, he's probably going to be a back end of the first round kind of guy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everything you just said is extremely accurate. He was pegged to be a early mid first round guy early on the watch list for the Thorpe Award and all that kind of stuff as the best corner in college football. And he's just super athletic, elite athleticism. A little bit shorter arms, but he makes up for it with all the explosion that he's got. But he has no ball skills. Mm-hmm. And so when you watch the tape, it's like he does everything great. He's the imposing guy, and he gets away with a lot in Georgia's defense, because they've got such a good pass rush, and and everyone around him is great, and so it kind of elevates his game, I think, a little bit. And it wouldn't surprise me if he drops. This is a guy where you put on the tape and he doesn't show as well as what he looks like as a specimen, as a football player, as a tester. And I think most NFL teams are probably going to have him in the mid to late second round, I would think. And that's based on upside, because you're still going to have to teach him how to play football, I think.
Oh, I think he can play football. He just needs, you got to work on his ability to get his head around and make plays on the ball better. So probably my favorite guy in this draft as a potential Seahawk would come next, and that would be Julius Brents out of K-State. 6'3", 34-inch arms, 198 pounds. 4.53 isn't going to blow people away as far as speed, but it's fast enough. 1.57 for the 10-yard split. But at 6'3", his three cone of 6.63 is absolutely elite. 4.05 in the short shuttle, that's also elite. Same with his broad jump and vertical jump. This guy has Seahawk corner size, length, everything that you'd want from him. He can play safety. He can play outside cornerback with that size. He's just a perfect Seahawk. And he's going to go way before Seattle picks.
I think he goes before Ringo, actually. This guy has all the athleticism and upside that you're looking for at the position, and at that wingspan, 82 and almost 83-inch wingspan, 34-inch arms, 4.05 short shuttle, which is pretty decent for his size. The straight line speed, the agility, the physicality. I like him a lot. Like if he's there and at the the second pick in the second round for Seattle, I think he's under consideration. Another guy that I really like is Tyreek Stevenson in the same regard. A little less tall at 6 foot, but 200 pounds, 32 and 3/8-inch arms, 4.4, 5.40 with a 1.51 split, which is great. 38.5 vertical, which shows the explosion in the legs, and he just looks like the prototypical kind of corner that Seattle likes, and it would be fun. I mean, to have one of these weapons on the opposite think with everything Seattle currently has on the roster, but adding another player, especially in the second or third round, teams on special teams and stuff. And I on this video podcast today, but we'll try to get it fixed here as we're going. Who else are we talking about, Keith? Are you still with me?
I am still with you. So we like, I think we've skipped a couple guys, but I think we can move down and look at
Cam Smith
guys.
would be one of the guys.
Yeah.
And Emmanuel Forbes is there, but he's like 6'1" and 166 pounds.
Yeah, so that's what I was like. We can just skip him. I didn't realize we skipped Cam Smith. He's probably a back end of the first round guy as well.
He's an excellent pro prospect. I think he's going to be a fine corner in the league.
I didn't realize Cam Smith was that small. I knew he was tiny. He
6'1",
just
180. Yeah.
He looks like a guy that's going to be a slot guy simply because he's not that big, but he's quick. He's quick enough to handle a lot of those
Same thing
guys.
with DJ Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, DJ Turner's 5'11", 178 pounds, but runs a 4.26. There's a place for that in the NFL. I just don't know what it is. Like, you'd have to play the slot. I mean, he's just not big enough to play on the outside. He's got the speed and the recovery, but hey, I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's a few guys like this in this. Eli Ricks is another guy that's a bigger guy, 6'2", 188 pounds, runs a 4.49. He might be somebody that they look at. They might be enamored with a guy like DJ Turner for some reason, just for the speed and athleticism. But I just don't know where you play a guy like that.
Yeah, that's when you start to, I don't know. For me, you start to wonder like where guys go, where they fit, how they work. Because you gotta consider scheme. It's not just looking at what the player and what they can do, but it's hey, this is what we're gonna do, and we can't have one guy on the team that can't do those things. It doesn't work that way. A guy that I kind of like, if they're looking for a slot, if they're looking for a guy that they know is going to be a slot and nothing else, would be Garrett Williams out of Syracuse, 5'10", 192. Not, doesn't have that length that you want on the outside, but he's got incredible footwork. His ability to match, mirror, does not commit penalties, no penalties over the last 2 seasons.
Wow.
And just does a lot of little things well. Very good short area quickness, and his ability to just be a great person in the middle. And that's a really hard job to do, because you got to be able, you don't have a boundary protecting you. You got to be able to protect every direction. And he seems to do that stuff really well.
I agree.
And so as a slot corner, I think he would be an amazing fit for Seattle, or for anyone in the NFL.
He led the ACC in pass breakups in both 2020 and 2021. So he's got the agility and the ball skills. I really like him, and he would be like a great third round pick.
Yeah.
What do you think of Darius Rush, Keith? Is that a guy that you like in like round 4?
Okay, I don't know if he's going to be there in round 4. People seem to be talking him up like he's a second round guy, maybe early third. I don't like him in that range. I don't think he's a good enough player to really push that high.
He looked good at the combine. Like, he looked like when he was working out and he did the drills and stuff, he just looked fluid and had the great ball skills. When they do the drills and the gauntlet and stuff, he just looked like one of the best prospects out there going through the drills.
Yeah.
But when you look at him on tape, he's okay. Kind of, he cushions his coverage a little bit. So completion percentage against him is a little higher than you kind of like to have it.
Yeah,
but
6'2", 198, and he runs a 4.36 40 with a 1.51 split. Not quite as explosive. You look at his vert and his broad jump. Didn't run the agility stuff at the combine. But you look at that, and this is a guy that looks like he needs to come up and be in the press, not be. He's got the recovery speed to, even if he gets beat a little bit, he can get back. but he doesn't play that way. I mean, is that coaching, or is that just the way he naturally does? Is he bails on routes and lets stuff get caught underneath him too much, and that's kind of why I think you look at that. Like I said, people have him in round 2, like early
Well,
round
some
3.
people have him switching to corners, or not the corner, safety as well in the NFL.
Okay, that I could see. Like him as a free safety would be fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, he's
but him
definitely
as
got the makeup speed, all that kind of stuff, and he likes to be physical. He's very aggressive.
him as a safety would be really fun. I just, as a corner, I would be very leery about the fact that he just bails on routes and gives up those catches underneath. You can't have too many guys like that on your team, because that's just a lot of first downs that teams are getting that um, you just can't give up. So that's I mean, and maybe it's a coaching thing. Maybe that's what he was told to do at South Carolina, is just never get beat deep. We don't have the safety help. Never get beat. You know what I mean? Like that
Right,
might be what
right.
he was told, and with a different system, he'll play differently. But his tape is got a lot of balls cut underneath him over and over and over again. And so I'm not enamored with him.
So talk to me about some
Free
4th or 5th,
safety though.
5th,
Free
6th
safety
round
is
guys
different.
you like.
Okay, so you go down on these. There's some guys that I kind of like. Riley Moss out of
I was just gonna say
Iowa.
Riley Moss, dude.
Is
Let's
that
talk about Riley Moss.
okay? Because he's a guy that okay. Why don't you start? Because I like him, and I can't give you the full reason why. I
Well,
just
I
watch
I
him play, and I'm like, that guy
yeah.
looks like an NFL
No,
player.
and he does, dude. And so you watch him on tape. He's really steady at the position. He's got good ball skills, good makeup, recovery speed. Runs a 4.45 40. He's got a little shorter arms. That's the rub. 6'1", 193, but only 30-inch arms. Has the 1.458 split and the 39-inch vertical, which allow him to make up for some of that. And that's why he looks good on tape. He's just a good football player. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that rules him out in Seattle. He's going to be a slot cover guy, or come up in the box and be a hybrid for you, if you will. But he's just good. And when he showed up at the combine, and he worked out with everyone else alongside him, he was one of the best looking prospects on the field. Like, he just really looked good, looked the part, was very fluid, showed his ball skills, caught every ball thrown his way. That type of a player, and was very well thought of when they were talking about him in the interview process, and as a team captain, and that sort of a thing. So got a lot of things going for him, and he's just not thought of as being up at the top of the draft, but a good value in the 4th round or so, I think, for him.
See, his speed at the combine surprised me a little bit, because I don't see that on his tape. But what I do see is a guy who's just tough. He'll get up as a cornerback and mix it up with running backs and make those tackles and that kind of stuff. So, and the Seahawks love guys like that. If you talk to offensive line coaches, they'll say, don't block they'll tell the offensive lineman, don't block the cornerbacks. They can't tackle. Get up on a safety or a linebacker. You can't do that with some of these guys. Rush is one of those. If you run by him to block someone else, he'll come up and make the play. I just like that toughness out of a cornerback.
So on Bruce Feldman's little blurb on him, he said Moss has a vertical jump of 42 inches and broad jump 10.8. We're told he has clocked the fastest short shuttle time for DBs, and Kirk Ferentz's 2 decades plus at Iowa, blazing through it in 3.85 seconds on a short shuttle. That's elite.
That is crazy.
That would be almost a 1/10 of a second faster than anyone at this year's combine, including Sam Houston State's Zion McCollum at 3.94. So to me, he's going to be a playmaker for you, for sure.
Yeah. Another guy down there in that range, Cottrell Clark out of Louisville, 5'10", 181. So he's little. And then 29 and 5/8 inch arms.
I know.
So he does not have any length whatsoever, but he is fast for 10-yard split of 149. He is super twitchy athletically. The guy just changes direction at full speed. And
he changes direction, but look at the short shuttle. He's ran a 4.21 short shuttle. We just talked about a prospect that ran in the 4.89 or 3.89.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But it's still okay. It puts him in the 40th percentile, of players. But.
So I just think that he's a guy that he's limited to being a slot guy. You're never going to see him on the outside. He just doesn't have the length. The big receivers in the NFL will just go up over the top of him and make too many plays. But he does so much well athletically in terms of the way he mirrors his footwork. There's not extra steps in there. He's going to be a really good slot corner, in my opinion.
Yeah, interesting. The more we go through this list, the more slot kind of cover guys there are. There's a lot of them in this, and if you're a team that's looking for that, you're going to be able to find your flavor in this draft. There's probably 20 guys that you could go to in the rounds 3 through 7 that are going to be able to come in and make your roster and play special teams for you and cover guys in the slot.
Yeah, the Seahawks last year carried Justin Coleman on the roster, and he barely played, but they carried him because, in case they needed a slot guy. If a guy like, Kobe Bryant didn't work, if he started like, just didn't make that transition, they had a guy that they knew could play there, even if he wasn't playing at the high level that he was the last time he was in Seattle. And so clearly they see the need in that, and having a guy that's late round pick, can play a lot of special teams and just be there if they need him. I could see Seattle actually going that route since they feel like they've got the outside stuff covered up.
Right. You said that Seattle may look at a corner in the 5th or 6th round, a guy that you could take a flyer on, make the back end of your roster, start on special teams, work himself into a role. Jacorian Bennett might be a player like that. Cornerback out of Maryland, 5'11", 188 pounds, 32-inch arms, ran a 4.3 40. Clearly play special teams for you as a gunner on the outside, ran a 1.48 split and a 40.5-inch vertical, super athletic. Good coverage skills for the Terrapins. When targeted, had a quarterback rating against him of 57.5, which is really good. Put him in the top 10 in college for the snaps that he had. So there's a lot of guys, and I've got another. So it's
okay. Sorry, I think it's just we're having weird internet connections today.
Yeah, we are.
And you got a dog in the background. There's so many guys here we could talk about. And we could probably keep going. Like I said, this is a solid position. We could probably keep going on this for like the next hour. I don't think our listeners would stick with us that long.
Since the dog's barking. Yeah.
So one last guy before we go that I want to talk about would be Alex Austin out of Oregon State, 6'1", 195, 4.55 40, which is not fast, but fast enough. Not super. The rest of his athletic scores they don't blow you away, but it's a 3-year starter, played really consistently, really smart, high IQ, guy as far as, recognizing plays and doing stuff. Probably not a guy that you're going to see in the in a man coverage scheme, but Seattle doesn't run in a man coverage scheme. They run a zone scheme, and his length, his size, his just smart and knowing where to be and how to hand off those routes and pick up things coming through and not get beat behind him. Like just the stuff you see on tape for him is very Pete Carroll. It'd be better if he was a little more twitchy athletically, but
I think it would be better for him if he switched to like a safety. If he switched to a strong safety, I think it would be his. Yeah, or free. Yeah.
Okay,
but he's good at coming up in the box and being physical.
Yeah, that's true. I just think that he's a guy you're looking for, a guy in round 6, round 7, maybe an undrafted guy, although I think he does get drafted. There's a guy that kind of fits what Seattle does. And I think that given where you can get him in the draft and the fact that you can probably get him onto the practice squad, he's a guy that I could see sticking in Seattle if he ends up being drafted or, coming to them.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, there's one more guy I want to talk about. Darrell Luter's got good athleticism. The guy out of South Alabama, 6 foot, 189 pounds, running a 4.46 40, 32.5-inch arms with a 40.5-inch vertical. Guy like that, you take a flyer on late. There's one other one. Rajon Wright is an interesting prospect out of Oregon State. We just mentioned one guy. This is the other guy, 6'1", 193 pounds, ran a 4.35 40 with 32.5-inch arms. Pretty decent stat wise. Chalked up 30 tackles, 7 assists, 12 stops, 6 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. Quarterback rating when targeted is 74.6. Just an afterthought in this draft, though. There's so many prospects. He's probably going to be there in the 6th or 7th round.
There's one other guy that I think should need mention. He's probably not even on your list because he's not listed as a cornerback. But Brian Branch, he's a safety out of Alabama, also listed as a cornerback on NFL.com because he played. So he was a free safety who, when they would go to the nickel, he'd go up into the slot and cover a slot guy, and they'd bring someone else in to be the back end guy because athletically he can handle it. Super productive, super just smart, and does everything. Very much a Minkah Fitzpatrick type of safety where he just really can anything you ask them to do, they can do. You're going to line up all over the place, be as scheme diverse as absolutely possible. And that's a guy that, given what Seattle was looking at last year and the kinds of different things that they did with their safeties and stuff, I could see them really liking a guy like Brian Branch, and he would fit in as a cornerback, at least partially on the depth chart. So
he's not the fastest. Doesn't have the most agility. He's not the most athletic, but he's a good football player. This is why you watch the tape and sometimes you don't look at all the combine numbers. Because Brian Branch is just a really good football player. He's excellent in zone coverage, good in cover, understands the game, reads coverages really well. 3-year starter at Alabama. He's just a really good cover corner, good zone guy, scheme diverse for you. You mentioned it. He could play a little safety for you. He can play in the slot. And he's going to be a good pro. He's got leadership qualities, all that good stuff. So I think after the combine, and he didn't test as well as I think some people anticipated he would, he's fallen out of a lot of people's mock drafts in the first round, for example. But he's a first round talent.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him come out at Alabama's pro day and improve all of those athletic numbers and have where people are talking about him again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because when you watch him, he makes plays. He's a playmaker. He's like Kobe Bryant was in college.
Yeah.
So anywho, anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, let's get out of here on this show. Sorry for the rough audio and video quality. We'll figure that out, hopefully. You can find Keith at Myers NFL on Twitter. You can find me at NW Seahawk. The show is at Hawks Playbook. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube. Got our own YouTube channel. And when you find it, hit that subscribe button. That would really help. So until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NW Seahawk. Keith is at Myers NFL. And the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.